When I was on a business trip conducting a site visit at a hotel, right in the middle of discussions with my business partner, my wife showed up with a male intern, demanding the presidential suite. My wife's flushed face was pressed against the male intern's chest. Before I could even question her, she flew into a rage, accusing me, "You're actually spying on me." She claimed her relationship with the intern was purely that of a mentor and mentee. My business partner tried to say a word in my defense, but they both berated him mercilessly. The potential collaboration was nearly ruined. I stopped arguing and chose divorce. But then, my wife suddenly knelt outside my office door. And Mr. Warren, it's a true honor to have this opportunity to sit down and discuss this partnership with you. Mr. Warren clapped me on the shoulder and handed me a cup of tea. All right, Sincere. Enough with the formalities between us. Give serious thought to the compensation package I just outlined. Understood the implication behind Mr. Warren's words. It's just that I had too much on my plate and couldn't extricate myself from my current company just yet. If we could secure this deal, it would represent a major breakthrough for our company. Mr. Warren, I will give it careful consideration. And since you feel this project is suitable, let's sign the contract. We sat on the comfortable sofa, sipping tea and methodically discussing the partnership details. Just then the suite door was violently thrown open. "Why are you occupying this room? Don't you know I booked it?" A sharp voice pierced the air. I turned my head to see Victoria Ashworth, her face crimson, eyes glazed, clearly drunk. She was practically plastered against the male intern beside her, their posture strikingly intimate. This intern was named Ethan Drake. He had recently joined the company where Victoria worked. Seeing this, my heart sank violently, a dark premonition washing over me. Before I could even voice my questions, Victoria launched a preemptive strike, glaring at me furiously and shouting accusations. "Sincere Clark, you're actually spying on my movements. How did you end up here?" Her voice was loud, filled with anger and blame. The atmosphere in the room instantly tensed. I forced down the rage simmering inside me, trying my best to remain calm. "Victoria, try to be reasonable. I'm here on business to discuss a partnership. Mr. Warren and I arranged to meet here. We've been talking for a while already." I gestured towards Mr. Warren and the documents on the table. Mr. Warren quickly chimed in. "Yes, Ms. Ashworth, we did indeed schedule this meeting in advance. It's an official arrangement." Unexpectedly, Ethan Drake scoffed dismissively, pointing at Mr. Warren and cursing. "Who the hell do you think you are? Then you have no place speaking here. Don't think you're special just because you have some minor deal with Sincere Clark. We're taking this room today. Truly an idiot. This entire hotel belonged to Mr. Warren." Victoria backed him up. "Exactly, get the hell out now. And Ethan and I just have a normal mentor-mentee relationship. Sincere, stop being so paranoid and suspicious. When will you ever change that petty streak of yours?" Hearing their words, Mr. Warren's expression turned very unpleasant. 2. He was a prominent figure in the business world. When had he ever been subjected to such disrespect? I knew if I didn't handle this swiftly, our partnership would definitely fall through. I took a deep breath. Stepping forward, I grabbed Ethan by the collar and hauled him in front of Mr. Warren. Before he could react, I kicked him hard behind the knees. Ethan crashed directly onto his knees before Mr. Warren. "Apologize to Mr. Warren, otherwise I will make sure what happened today gets reported back to the company." Ethan knelt on the ground, his knees slamming onto the marble floor with a dull thud. He grimaced in pain but still craned his neck to glare at me, his eyes burning with defiant fire. Victoria rushed over, grabbing my arm, her nails digging almost into my flesh. "Sincere Clark, have you lost your mind?" I shook off her hand, my gaze as cold as ice. "You're the one who's lost her mind." Mr. Warren slowly stood up, adjusted the cuffs of his suit, a wry smile playing on his lips. "Mr. Clark, this little drama's far more interesting than the contract we were discussing." He glanced at Ethan, his tone abruptly turning ominous. Ethan shuddered, his arrogant demeanor instantly deflating. But Victoria suddenly snatched a teacup from the table and hurled it violently at me. "Sincere Clark, what right do you have to humiliate my protege?" The teacup whizzed past my ear, shattering against the wall into countless pieces. I stood my ground, motionless, not even a flicker of my eyelashes. "Oh, because I am your husband." I stared at her, enunciating each word clearly. "And also because this hotel happens to be merely one of Mr. Warren's most insignificant properties." Victoria froze, her face draining of all color. She clearly hadn't expected the owner of this top-tier hotel to be the smiling, middle-aged man before her. Ethan completely crumpled to the floor, his lips trembling, unable to lift his head again. Mr. Warren chuckled, took out his phone, and dialed the front desk, sent security up. "Please escort these two esteemed guests out." As security guards grabbed Victoria's arms and started dragging her away, panic finally set in. She struggled, looking back and shouting at me. "Sincere, let me explain, Ethan and I really were just—" Before she could finish, Victoria and Ethan were already dragged out. I turned back, sat down on the sofa, opened the contract to the last page, the pen hovering over the signature line. "Mr. Warren, shall we continue our partnership?" Mr. Warren burst out laughing, took the pen, and signed his name with a flourish. "It's precisely this decisiveness of yours that I admire." 3. On the way back to the company, I sent a message to my lawyer, the drafted divorce agreement. Asset division according to the prenuptial agreement. The neon lights outside the car window flickered across my face, casting my expression into shadow. Victoria had pursued me in university. Back then, she stood at the library entrance in a white dress, raindrops clinging to her eyelashes. She timidly asked if we could share an umbrella. Later, she always said, it was my cool eyes, the ones that looked at everyone like a data report, that had captivated her soul. But now, those same eyes saw through all her clumsy lies. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was my mother-in-law. I answered, hearing suppressed sobs on the other end. Sincere, Victoria came home crying uncontrollably. What on earth happened between you two? So you should ask her which man she brought to the hotel, I stated flatly. Dead silence followed on the line. I knew that my father-in-law and mother-in-law, while outwardly affectionate towards me, were really only interested in my assets. After all, I was the one who had been managing the company all along. It was only nominally under the Ashworth family name. The next morning, Victoria blocked the company entrance. She wore no makeup, her eyes swollen like peaches, clutching a thermos. "Honey, I made your favorite seafood soup." I walked past her straight towards the elevator. She hurried after me, grabbing my sleeve, her voice trembling. Well, nothing happened between Ethan and me. The drank too much that day. He was just helping me get some rest. When I saw you at the hotel, I deliberately said things to provoke you. I pressed the button for the top floor and finally turned to look at her. That jacket you're wearing still smells of Ethan's cologne. As the elevator doors slowly closed, she suddenly hurled the thermos at the metal doors. Scalding soup splattered through the closing gap, a few drops landing on the back of my hand. "Sincere Clark, you don't love me at all." Her hysterical screams were cut off outside. "So only love your business, your reputation." Looking at the red mark on my hand, I suddenly recalled 3 years ago when she had a high fever. I had abandoned an international conference call to rush home. She was curled up in bed, delirious. "Sincere Clark, don't leave." The tears then were real, the dependence was real. How had even the hatred become so absurd now? 4. Just after finishing a small meeting, I received the drafted divorce agreement via email. My fingertips turned white involuntarily. I never thought the marriage I had held on to hope for would ultimately reach this point. When I placed the divorce agreement in front of Victoria, her gaze instantly froze, the color draining rapidly from her face, leaving it paper white. Her hand trembled slightly, wanting to pick up the document, yet recoiling as if burned. "Sincere, do you really have to be this cruel?" Victoria's voice held a choked sob, her eyes welling up with tears. She tried to use her pitiful appearance to evoke the tenderness I once felt, but at this moment my heart held only endless disappointment and resolve. Victoria, things have reached this stage. You should understand there's no turning back. TIS divorce agreement settles property according to the prenup. It's best for both of us. My tone was calm and firm, no longer swayed by her emotions. Victoria suddenly lifted her head, a flash of fierceness in her eyes. I don't agree to the divorce, and nothing even happened between Ethan and me. Do you need to be this jealous? She slammed the agreement onto the floor, as if that could somehow mend our shattered relationship. But I knew everything about her actions with Ethan at the company. When Ethan first joined, he knew little about the business, and Victoria was assigned to mentor him. Initially, everything seemed normal. Victoria patiently explained work procedures, and Ethan appeared eager to learn. But gradually, their interactions extended beyond work. During a company team-building event, everyone sat playing games. Ethan deliberately sat next to Victoria. When their eyes met, the air crackled with unspoken intimacy. One game required close cooperation between pairs. Ethan held Victoria's hand tightly. Her face instantly flushed, but she didn't pull away. After that, their private messages increased, filled with concern and banter. During business trips, they were inseparable. In the evenings, Victoria would go to Ethan's room under the guise of discussing work. Inside, they would sit close, laughing and talking, occasionally engaging in small, intimate gestures. Whenever I reminded Victoria to maintain professional boundaries with other men, she would point her finger at my nose and yell, "Who do you think you are to tell me what to do? And just because I'm married to you doesn't mean I can. Have normal interactions with other men. I never realized you were so petty and small-minded." Looking at her now, my heart felt no ripples. Victoria started sobbing loudly behind me, her cries echoing in the spacious room, sounding particularly jarring. Just then, Ethan suddenly burst in. Seeing Victoria's tear-streaked face, he immediately shot a fierce glare at me. "Sincere Clark, don't go too far. Victoria loves you so much. How can you treat her like this?" As Ethan spoke, trying to help Victoria up, his eyes betrayed an impatient eagerness to usurp my position. I let out a cold laugh. "What right do you have to speak here?" Ethan was about to say more, but Victoria suddenly pulled him close, whispering something in his ear. After hearing it, a look of anticipating drama flickered in Ethan's eyes. He smirked at me, then helped Victoria leave. 5. Although Victoria refused the divorce, I didn't let it stop me. I threw myself wholeheartedly into the joint project with Mr. Warren. Leveraging years of experience and connections, the project progressed smoothly. Ultimately, I exceeded the company's annual performance targets ahead of schedule, generating substantial profits. Walking into the boardroom with these impressive results, I felt confident. However, I hadn't expected a larger storm brewing. Victoria, as the nominal head of the company, sat at the head of the conference table. Seeing me enter, a flicker of malice crossed her eyes. As soon as the meeting began, she mercilessly proposed stripping me of all my duties. Victoria spoke righteously, as if she were the victim. Ethan chimed in beside her. "Exactly, Sincere Clark. Don't think you're hot stuff just because you achieved a little something. Just leave quietly." He wore a smug grin, his sycophantic behavior utterly repulsive to me. I listened quietly to their statements, not rushing to rebut. Once they finished, I slowly stood up, scanning the faces of the shareholders around the room. "Distinguished shareholders, I'd like to ask everyone a question first. What is more important, the company's interests or personal pique?" And I looked at Victoria, my eyes filled with mockery. And I admit, the issues between Victoria and myself have caused some negative impact on the company, but this isn't solely my fault. As for the results I've brought to the company, everyone here has seen them. I achieved this year's targets ahead of schedule, creating significant profits. Because I want a divorce from Victoria, she wants to dismiss me from my position. Is this reasonable? Shareholders began murmuring amongst themselves. Victoria's face turned ugly. She hadn't expected me to openly challenge her in the boardroom. Sincere Clark, stop trying to twist things. You're willing to demand a divorce over fabricated issues. That demonstrates irresponsibility. How can someone like that manage a company effectively? Victoria attempted to use moral blackmail against me. Just then, Robert Chapman, a senior shareholder who had remained silent in the corner, stood up. He cleared his throat and said, "Victoria, I believe Sincere has a point. Business is about results, and everyone acknowledges Sincere Clark's contributions to this company. Dismissing him due to personal grievances is unfair to the company." Mr. Chapman's words were like a stone dropped into a calm lake, creating ripples. Other shareholders quickly voiced their agreement, supporting Mr. Chapman. Indeed, everyone recognizes Sincere's capabilities. "We can't just remove him over this. Victoria, you're acting too emotionally. This isn't conducive to the company's development." Victoria and Ethan were stunned. They hadn't anticipated the shareholders siding with me. Victoria's face turned ashen, then livid. She glared at me, looking as though she wanted to devour me whole. Why are you all taking his side? He's the one divorcing me," Victoria shrieked hysterically. Everything was proceeding exactly as I had anticipated. Now, it was time for my counterattack. 6. At this point, I spoke slowly. "Victoria, did you really think the shareholders on this board answer only to you? And actually, they are loyal to the company's success, which I have delivered. For so many years, I've worked diligently for this company, building a solid foundation, and they've seen it all. You, on the other hand, only thought of using the company to satisfy your personal desires. You are fundamentally unfit to be its leader." Hearing my words, Victoria slumped back into her chair, her eyes vacant, as if her soul had left her body. Ethan was also terrified, his face pale. He knew his ambitions were utterly shattered. Effective immediately, I proposed the removal of Victoria Ashworth from her position as company head. Since she has abused her authority and disregarded the company's interests for personal gain, she is no longer suitable for this role. I looked at Victoria, my tone icy. The shareholders raised their hands one by one in agreement. By a unanimous vote, Victoria was removed from her position, and Ethan, due to his actions, was fired from the company. The moment Victoria and Ethan were escorted out of the conference room, I didn't feel the elation I might have expected. Seeing someone I once loved reach such a state brought only weariness and a sense of loss. Looking at the shareholders remaining in the room, I forced myself to rally. "Thank you all for your support. After this turmoil, the company needs to readjust its course. I will give my all to take the company to new heights." After the meeting, I returned to my office. Sitting at the familiar desk, gazing out at the cityscape, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Recalling everything with Victoria, from our first meeting to now, felt like a long, absurd dream. The past sweetness and vows had dissolved into nothingness with her betrayal alongside Ethan. I knew I had to let go of the past and start anew. After handling company matters, night had fallen. I walked alone down the quiet company corridor. The only sound my own footsteps. Passing Victoria's old office, the door was ajar, the light still on. I paused instinctively, peering through the crack. Victoria sat at her desk, staring blankly ahead, piles of documents surrounding her. Her hair was slightly messy, and she looked utterly worn out. The vibrant, chatty woman she once was had become this desolate figure. Mixed emotions churned within me. After a moment's hesitation, I gently pushed the door open and walked in. Victoria heard the noise and looked up. Seeing me, a complex mix of emotions flashed in her eyes. Resentment and perhaps a hint of guilt. "What are you doing here?" came to gloat. I sat down across from her, looking at her calmly. "Victoria, neither of us wanted things to end up like this. So I just wanted to tell you, although our marriage is over, I hope you can live well. What happened with the company is past. You should plan your own future." Victoria gave a cold laugh. "Plan my future? You dragged me down from my position, left me with nothing, and now you talk about planning? You're truly hypocritical." Victoria's eyes suddenly reddened. She bit her lip, tears welling up. Sincere Clark, do you think I really wanted this? I just lost myself. Chetithan was good to me. When I was with him, I felt like I'd rediscovered the passion of my youth. I know I was wrong, but there's no going back, is there? As she spoke, tears streamed down her face. Watching her cry, the resentment in my heart gradually faded, leaving only boundless helplessness. Victoria, let the past be the past. We both need to look forward. I hope you can find your own true happiness in the future. With that, I stood up, ready to leave. 7. As I reached the door, Victoria suddenly called out, "Sincere Clark, if time could turn back, I swear I wouldn't have done those things to hurt you. Could we go back?" I stopped, didn't turn around, and remained silent for a moment. And we can't go back. Some things, once they happen, can never be undone. Take care of yourself. And saying this, I walked out of the office without looking back. Returning home, the empty house felt exceptionally cold. Once filled with Victoria's laughter, it now held only silence and memories. I went into the bedroom and saw our wedding photo still hanging on the wall. In it, we were smiling so happily. I slowly took the photo down, tracing Victoria's face on the print, overcome with emotion. Finally, I placed the photo in a drawer, determined to completely let go of the past. In the following days, I dedicated myself entirely to work. The partnership with Mr. Warren progressed exceptionally well. Our team continuously launched new products and strategies, receiving excellent market feedback. The company's performance soared, gradually emerging from the previous gloom. At an industry conference, I met a woman named Sophia Sutton. She was the founder of an emerging company, young and promising, with a remarkable presence. We hit it off immediately at the conference, finding common ground in our business philosophies and visions for development. After the conference, we exchanged contact information, stayed in touch. As time went on, Sophia and I grew closer. We often discussed work, shared life's joys and sorrows. Being with her, I felt an unprecedented ease and comfort. Her arrival was like a beam of light piercing my darkness, allowing me to see hope in life again. However, just as I thought my life was getting back on track, trouble found me again. Victoria's parents suddenly showed up at the company demanding to see me. I knew their visit wasn't friendly, but I received them politely. Victoria's father sat across from me, his face stern. "Sincere Clark, we know about what happened between you and Victoria. So although Victoria made a mistake, she is our daughter after all. You can't be so heartless. You must reinstate her position in the company." I gave a cold chuckle. "Mr. Ashworth, do you really think that's possible? Victoria's actions severely damaged the company's interests. I cannot prioritize personal feelings over the company's future." Victoria's mother sobbed beside him. "And Sincere, please, just consider how well we treated you in the past. Help Victoria. Since she shut herself in at home all day, not eating or drinking, we're truly worried about her." I looked at them, feeling helpless. "And Mrs. Ashworth, Victoria is an adult. She needs to take responsibility for her actions. I have my own life now, and I hope you can understand." Hearing this, Victoria's father erupted in anger. "Sincere Clark, don't refuse the easy way and force my hand. Don't forget the company is still nominally under our Ashworth family name. If you don't agree to our demands, we have ways to make things difficult for you. For so many years I had been devoted to my in-laws. I treated them almost like my own parents. I managed all household matters, large and small. Even when they were sick and hospitalized, I stayed by their side constantly. In the end, blood ties proved thicker. I suspected Victoria had kept the truth from them. 3 years ago, the company nearly went bankrupt due to one of Victoria's mistakes. Shareholders demanded that Victoria give up 30% of her shares. Now, I held 50% of the company's shares, while their daughter held only 20%. 8%. When I produced the share transfer agreement. "Moment, Mr. Ashworth, are you threatening me?" Victoria's parents had no idea I was now the actual controlling shareholder of the company. They hadn't expected me to be so firm. angry and anxious yet powerless against me. Eventually, they left in disgrace. After this incident, I knew Victoria's parents wouldn't give up easily. To ensure the company's stability and growth, I decided to take action. I began gradually removing personnel within the company who had close ties to the Ashworth family, tightened control over finances and operations, ensuring the company's reins were firmly in my hands. During this process, I encountered considerable resistance. Some long-term employees expressed dissatisfaction, believing I was purging dissenters. Meanwhile, my relationship with Sophia continued to deepen. On a romantic evening, I confessed my feelings to her. She blushed and accepted my proposal, and we officially began dating. In the days spent with Sophia, I experienced true love. She understood and supported me. When I faced difficulties, she was always quietly by my side, offering encouragement and help. However, happy times are often fleeting. Just as Sophia and I were planning a trip together to enjoy some quality time, a major crisis hit the company. Our competitors launched a malicious campaign slandering our products, severely damaging the company's reputation and causing a sharp decline in orders. Faced with this sudden crisis, my team and I held emergency meetings to devise countermeasures. At this critical juncture, Victoria unexpectedly reappeared. She found me, claiming she had inside information about the competitors that might help resolve the crisis. I looked at her somewhat surprised. "Why would you want to help me?" Victoria looked back, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Sincere, even though there's nothing left between us romantically, I worked at this company for many years. I don't want to see it destroyed by this. And besides, I also want to atone for my past mistakes." The moment Victoria offered to help, my guard went up instantly. Images of her past betrayals flashed through my mind, making it impossible for me to trust her supposed goodwill. I looked at her, careful not to reveal my suspicion. "All right, I'll trust you this once. Tell me the details." A barely perceptible flicker of panic crossed Victoria's eyes, but she quickly composed herself and began relaying the supposed inside information. Yet her gaze constantly avoided mine. After she finished, I pretended to trust her. "Thank you so much. This information is crucial. I'll have the team verify it immediately. You should go home and rest." As soon as Victoria left, I immediately called my most trusted assistants, instructing them to secretly investigate Victoria and Ethan's recent activities and any suspicious transactions. Sure enough, as the investigation deepened, more and more clues pointed towards them. I discovered that Victoria and Ethan had been in frequent contact with our competitors recently, along with several unexplained financial transfers. Following these leads, a complete conspiracy gradually came to light. 9. It turned out they had deliberately leaked confidential company information to competitors out of revenge. They had also orchestrated a series of malicious activities to discredit our products, attempting to bankrupt my company. Once I had a solid chain of evidence, I summoned Victoria and Ethan to the company conference room. The moment they entered and saw my grave expression and the evidence laid out on the table, their faces turned deathly white. Victoria still tried to argue, and Sincere Clark, "This must be a misunderstanding, none of this proves anything." Ethan chimed in, "Exactly, don't accuse us wrongly." I let out a cold laugh, presenting the evidence piece by piece. "Still denying it? Look at this. Every single item is enough to prove your crimes. One of you were willing to destroy the company for your own selfish reasons. Did you really think you could escape the consequences?" Victoria's eyes darted around. She turned on Ethan. "This was all your idea. You said it would be revenge on Sincere Clark. I was tricked by you." Ethan panicked. "Don't talk. Nonsense, you came to me first, saying you could offer me benefits." They pointed fingers at each other, arguing until they were red in the face. Watching their ugly display, I felt only disappointment and anger. "Then stop the theatrics. Both of you will pay the price." With that, I contacted my lawyer, preparing to take them to court and let the law punish their malicious actions. Victoria and Ethan panicked upon hearing about the lawsuit, but my mind was made up. I would show them no further mercy. During the time I prepared to sue Victoria and Ethan, Victoria's life descended into chaos. Already depressed after being dismissed from the company, something even more devastating followed. One day, Victoria accidentally discovered transaction records on Ethan's phone, along with intimate chat logs with a female university student. The moment she saw those records, her world collapsed. Ethan had been using the allowance she gave him to support another woman. All the affection and money she had poured into Ethan turned out to be a joke. Victoria was furious and immediately confronted Ethan. "Ethan, how could you do this behind my back? I treated you so well, and this is how you repay me." Victoria's voice trembled, her eyes filled with rage and despair. Ethan, however, looked impatient. "Stop making a scene, Victoria. It was just for fun with her. Don't be so petty. Just for fun? You used my money to keep another woman and call me petty?" And Victoria trembled with anger, lunging to hit Ethan. Ethan pushed her away, dropping all pretense. "Wake up, I only got close to you to climb the ladder. Did you really think I liked you?" Hearing Ethan's blunt words, Victoria fell into utter despair. She collapsed onto the floor, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. At that moment, images of my past kindness towards her flooded her mind. She remembered being sick in bed during university, how I had run all over the city to buy her favorite pastries. She remembered facing difficulties at work, how I patiently helped her analyze problems, staying up late with her. She especially remembered the time she made a huge mistake at the company, how I had run around begging favors just to pull the company through the crisis and save her job. But all that past goodness had been overshadowed by Ethan's sweet talk. Blinded by what she thought was love, she pursued Ethan's perceived romance and passion as the entirety of life, ignoring my quiet dedication and deep affection. How could I have been so stupid? Why did I betray Sincere? Why did I trust a liar like you? Victoria cried out loud at Ethan. 10. Ethan shot her a disgusted look. "It's too late for regrets now. You've already been fired from the company, so you're useless to me anyway." With that, he turned and left without a backward glance. Victoria returned home, devastated, curling up alone in a dark corner. Her heart filled with remorse. She knew she had irrevocably lost me and the wonderful life she once had. As the court date approached, Victoria sought me out. Her face was haggard, her eyes full of guilt and regret. "Sincere, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Only now do I understand that you were the one who loved me most. I shouldn't have been deceived by Ethan and done those things to hurt you." I looked at her, a mix of emotions churning inside me. The deep love I once felt, now interwoven with profound disappointment, left me momentarily speechless. Victoria stood before me, looking utterly drained, repeating words of regret. But looking at her, I only felt an endless complexity. The love from the past had been eroded by repeated betrayals. Now, faced with her repentance, I didn't know how to respond. With that, I turned and left, not looking back at her again. I knew that between her and me, it was definitively over. Soon the court date arrived. In court, Victoria and Ethan were still trying to shift blame onto each other, but the evidence was conclusive, rendering their defenses weak and futile. Ultimately, the judge declared them guilty of commercial crimes, and they faced corresponding legal consequences. Victoria was sent to prison. Upon entering prison, Victoria still clung to the fantasy that it was all just a nightmare. She believed if she behaved well, she could get out soon and return to her old life. She participated dutifully in prison labor each day, striving to make a good impression, but deep down, the longing for me grew stronger. She constantly replayed our past moments together, those beautiful times screening endlessly in her mind like a movie. However, prison life was not as simple as she imagined. The unfamiliar and cold environment made her feel intensely lonely and frightened. Other inmates noticed her state and would occasionally mock her. Once, an inmate deliberately bumped into her. "So you're the fool who ruined herself over a man." The injustice and anger inside Victoria erupted instantly, but she didn't dare fight back, only enduring it silently. In this oppressive atmosphere, Victoria's mental state gradually deteriorated. She started suffering from insomnia, lying awake all night, eyes wide open. Her mind was consumed by images of me and Ethan, the scenes of betrayal haunting her like ghosts. She craved seeing me more and more, as if only seeing me could bring her a sliver of comfort. Thus, she began constantly demanding to see me, ignoring repeated warnings from the guards. Her emotions grew increasingly unstable, fluctuating between crying fits and silent withdrawal. One day, a prison guard called, informing me that Victoria's condition was very poor and asking me to visit her. I hesitated for a long time but ultimately decided to go to the prison. When I walked into the visitation room, the Victoria I saw was unrecognizable from the woman in my memory. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes vacant, her face utterly devoid of color. And sincere, you finally came. I missed you so much. Seeing me, Victoria clung to me like a lifeline, desperately reaching out, trying to touch me. Victoria, calm down. I looked at her, my heart numb. I can't calm down. I live in agony every day. I regret what I did. I want out. I want to go back to how things were. Victoria cried out emotionally, sobbing loudly. 11. I sighed helplessly. Victoria, this is reality. But Victoria couldn't hear my words. She continued to weep and wail, constantly murmuring my name. After that, Victoria's condition worsened. She completely lost her sanity, rambling incoherently in prison all day, impossible to console. She often imagined herself still with me, talking to thin air, one moment smiling tenderly, the next arguing hysterically. Sometime later, the prison guards called again. They informed me that Victoria had died in prison. She had rammed her head against a wall. The moment I heard the news, my heart was filled with a complex mix of emotions. After handling Victoria's funeral arrangements, I decided to finally put the past behind me and build a life with Sophia. My relationship with Sophia grew stronger, and on a bright, sunny day, we held a grand wedding. At the wedding, friends and family offered their blessings. Looking at Sophia's happy smile, I knew I had finally found my own happiness. After getting married, Sophia and I worked hard together to build our life. We supported each other professionally, facing various challenges together. Sophia was incredibly understanding. When I was busy with company matters, she would quietly support me from behind the scenes, handling everyday life details for me. We also cherished the beautiful moments in life together. On weekends, we would go to the market together, then come home and cook a lavish dinner. After dinner, we'd walk hand in hand in the park, sharing stories from our day. Once, the company faced a major project that required my full dedication. During that period, I worked late every day, returning home exhausted. Sophia saw how hard I was working and felt for me. She prepared nutritious meals for me daily, made me hot tea when I was tired from work, and chatted with me to help me relax. With Sophia's support, I successfully completed the project, bringing substantial profits to the company. The company continued to thrive, and I found more time to spend with Sophia. We traveled together, exploring beautiful sights around the world.